Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Gully Cricket to Bouncy Wicket podcast. It has been very busy week for test cricket, especially being 3 test matches concluded in the same week. First one being India versus England, second one being Pakistan versus South Africa, and third one being Bangladesh versus West Indies. Pakistan versus South Africa test match. Test cricket coming back to Pakistan itself is a great news for Pakistan cricket fans here. And they had a wonderful 2 test match series, and Pakistan won both the tests. South Africa unfortunately had their moments in both the tests, but somehow lost the critical moments, and Pakistan won both the tests. And coming to Bangladesh versus West Indies, it was another great test match. It was, if you can say, it was similar to India versus Australia's Gabba's test, where we have witnessed the fourth innings double century from debutant, which was one of the very rare instances in the test match. Coming to India versus England test match, India lost the test match. So Raja, what were your thoughts on it?
So firstly, I wanted to say what a great week for test cricket. And as you touched upon it already, cricket coming back to Pakistan was brilliant, and a great thing about all the 3 matches, irrespective of the results, was all of them went down to the 5th day and up onto the last session, and that was amazing. In the sense that a lot of people keep saying that Test cricket, why are people playing it, or even the idea of a 4-day Test match. I think all the 3, especially January of 2021 and January and February. They just show you why Test cricket needs to be there, and Test cricket needs to be there for 5 whole days, and brilliant to see that. And also a shout out to West Indies for a great, for an epic chase, especially with debutants and the kind of the big names missing out, and how Brathwaite had to become captain and lead a very inexperienced team. And from that stage to chase around 400 on a 5th day was amazing. We will talk about India versus England in a bit, but again, wonderful test season this has been. What about you, Manoj? What do you think?
Yes, Raja. My thoughts on the first test. Because the series is held in India, everybody expected India to dominate the test, but not to be. I think you can largely attribute the loss to the batting. I think we have not batted well in this test. Though in the second innings we bowled really well, but then both the innings batting was the weakling, I felt. Credit to the way Root batted in this test, and also to Jimmy Anderson for his wonderful bowling. Otherwise, the test would have panned out in a different way.
So when we recorded it, it was on the end, at the end of the 3rd day. Hoping against hope, we were expecting that India might cut down the deficit and all that. But handing over 240 runs almost on a very slow pitch, which was just crumbling, and having to bat the 4th innings, it was always going to be a tough ask. But credit where it's due, how India came back in the second innings of England, when England batted the second inning, I think it was very good. Where especially Ashwin, bowling, starting off with a great ball and taking a wicket off the first ball. So it did slow down England a bit, and having just restricted them to 170 odd was also pretty decent.
Yeah, Raja, I also largely feel that India's loss is primarily because of India's batting in the first innings. We have handed over too much of a lead to them, and especially on a day 3 pitch, which was not doing much. There was some pitch was playing a part on day 4, and especially on day 5. Day 3 definitely would have got more runs, which would have made the whole test match interesting. But unfortunately, India's batting was very poor in the first innings, and they picked up in the bowling for second innings, but I think it's too late by the time they picked up, with England bowlers also doing very well in the 4th innings, especially Anderson sending Gill and Rahane in the same over It's almost like a replay mode.
Amazing. I for a moment I thought it was a replay when I was watching the highlights. I just thought they were playing the same thing again. But great bowling by Anderson.
And to
He
start
just
with for
yeah.
India in the second innings, as like you mentioned, Ashwin got wicket on very first ball of the innings, which itself is a record for more than 100 years old record, which happened last time in 1907 in South Africa versus England match, and it happened again in this match. Spinner getting wicket on first ball of the innings.
That's great.
So some of the talking points of this match are the pitch being very flat, and also the about the SG ball. Do you think the pitch should have been prepared a little differently? I want to know your thoughts about that.
I think pitch would have done something on day 3 also, to be frankly, but of course you don't expect pitch to do something on day 1 and day 2, even if it is in India, right? If you ask me, I think on day 5 especially the pitch behaved like it should do on day 5, and we must say that the previous 2 test matches India went on to draw and win in Australia. Actually the pitch hasn't behaved in the way it was supposed to behave on day 5. Probably India was expecting the same with this. I don't know, like many people are saying on the pitch. I don't know what really they are expecting on day 5 to happen.
And it could also be the fact that there hasn't been any cricket, right? There hasn't been any long form cricket, especially in Chennai. Barely any this thing, going on more than a day. Maybe they must have had a few games here and then. But it was also might have been difficult for the curators to prepare something. But having said that, I do agree with what was said, what Sinu said. That it's just that in day 3 when it wasn't happening, there wasn't a lot happening. Also, we just threw away a lot of wickets. Maybe 100 runs more, and maybe even taking a few, being a little more aggressive on the field would have reduced the deficit. The pitch, I don't know, like until the first innings ended for both sides, I thought it behaved similarly. There weren't any demons, anything like that. But fourth day, fifth day, as Chennai pitches do behave, I think it went back to its characteristic of that.
And one thing that Manoj, you were mentioning about the SG ball, right? I think Ashwin and Kohli complained on how SG ball behaved after 40-50 overs probably, and I don't think it's the first time they are complaining. Also earlier also India team has raised few concern on SG ball, and I'm sure there will be some improvement on that front, if not immediately but in near future.
For me, I thought the ball will always be the same. It's just that we also had to face the same. I'm sure England also might have been facing the same issues. I don't think it's that big of a. I don't know if it should.
No, it's not. It's not about India won or lost. The way the ball was supposed to be after 40.
Yeah. The quality of the ball, surely. Like we could see on this thing on TV itself that the seam was coming off, and the threading was like all over. It was very bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very
and just to remind our viewers, the SG ball that we use only it in India and not outside India, right? I mean, everybody expects.
They use Dukes or Kookaburra, right?
Correct.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I think West Indies and England and Ireland, if I'm not wrong, use Dukes, and everyone else uses Kookaburra basically, including Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Australia, New Zealand. Everyone else uses Kookaburra ball.
I think if you ask me, it's high time that we look for a different ball, because there are other balls also available in the market. For example, SS. I mean, these are also good balls. I'm not sure why they are very adamant and not looking for another ball.
So moving on to batting performance of fourth innings for India, I think Kohli made a beautiful half century there, which was again not an easy batting pitch. It was a beautiful innings, I think.
Lone hand, definitely a lone hand. He maybe when Ashwin came in, I thought maybe they'll stick around for a few, but definitely Kohli played a lone hand. And losing, I think losing Pujara that early also must have been early into the fifth day. I think that also played a huge part, because he was someone who can just absorb that pressure, even if there are like
The best out of Kohli comes out when he is under pressure.
Yeah, surely, but unfortunate. I will tell you something. One of the moments that will stay with me, especially with this test match, you've already touched upon this. James Anderson getting those wickets was amazing, and also same thing with our senior bowler of Ishant Sharma taking back-to-back wickets in the same over. Beautiful. These are not balls that I have done in it. Almost the pitches were really flat and bad, but hitting the top of off stump, especially Ishant of Butler and Archer, and similarly
That's a dream of any test ball bowling bowler, right?
And Anderson taking the wickets of Gill and Rahane in the almost similar fashion. So it's amazing. Like there could be mirror images on both sides, and even the dismissals could be the same. That was amazing.
Raja, just some thoughts on how Rohit got out in both the innings. I mean, now it looks like his place is in question, right? The way he got out.
Yeah, I in both the innings, I felt he just threw his wicket away to a large extent. Maybe second innings, maybe you could give him that benefit of doubt where Leach bowled that great ball and it turned square almost from outside leg stump to hit.
But do you guys really feel that his place is in danger for the next test? Should we really look
I
for a
don't think
replacement?
his place is in danger for second test. But if he plays the same way, I think we should look for Mayank or Prithvi Shaw, because they had a very good batting average in India, especially, and
Mayank
we'll be
especially, yeah.
And we'll be having KL Rahul also available from third test, and he's too good a batsman to keep him in the bench for test match especially.
I agree. I think changes can be made, but maybe they'll give Rohit an opportunity, but for the second test maybe. That's what I feel.
And to our listeners, I would like to say that by the time we were recording this, India haven't announced the squad for second test. So yeah, Manoj, so what do you think India will change going into second?
I think one replacement that India will definitely be looking for is to replace, I think, Shahbaz Nadeem with either Akshar Patel or Kuldeep Yadav. I think if you look at his performance, Shahbaz Nadeem's performance in the first test, it was ordinary, I could say, because he wasn't really picking up wickets. And yeah, that's the only change I think they will make.
Yeah, I agree. I think Shahbaz Nadeem hasn't done enough to redeem his place, and Kohli has openly spoken about how the fourth and fifth bowlers needed to step up a little bit. And I'm sure having someone like more than maybe getting in Kuldeep Yadav, I don't think Akshar's batting is what is needed, but maybe Kuldeep can add a different dimension with your left arm, like left arm wrist spin. It could be a different element going into the next test. But I'm sure Shahbaz's place is a little suspect right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Raja. I think if fit, definitely Akshar Patel is going to make it into team. And so with India losing the first test match of the series, I can say India made equation very simple for the qualifying criteria of WTC finals. India has to win the balance 3 tests or win 2 and draw 1. Right? There is no other option, and I think India it's a must-win match for India. Forget about one draw, considerable one draw, but I think it's a must-win match for India. What do you think, Raja?
Absolutely. I think it's great that irrespective of however the World Test Championship has been scheduled and how many teams have pulled out and series have been cancelled and not everybody had played the same number of matches, and there are a lot of things that we can talk about, but ultimately it has come down to the last possible series of the last leg of championship. And each match already had some kind of significance, and having that kind of a weightage would always add more to the drama of Test cricket.
And Ashwini is just 14 wickets away from 400 wickets. Manoj, do you think he is going to do that in this series with 3 test matches?
Yes, I see a good possibility of that happening. We've seen how the wicket plays here in Chennai, provided if the pitch at Ahmedabad, if it turns out to be a spinner friendly, I really think he will cross that mark.
That was the end of our discussion on test match, and now we want to move on to something which is something that we wanted to talk about for the longest time, and we've been waiting for an opportunity on that. And now moving on to the next part of the discussion, this is something that we wanted to talk about. Usually people talk about as a cricket fan and as cricket fans in India, and especially IPL fans, are the upcoming IPL auctions on 18th February. So this is something that most people are always discussing about, and there are a lot of people who also say that 50% or even more of the tournament is won on the auction table. And having said that, let's have a quick run through about what is in store and what we are going to do.
So let's move on to IPL, guys. With the auction starting on 18th February, definitely we all have our own picks for our favorite teams, right? So let's dive into that. And as it is coming out from news, there are about 1100 players were registered for participating in the auction, and I think franchise and IPL governing council together has shortlisted 292 players, out of which 164 are from India and 125 are overseas players. So we'll do it team by team. First, let's look at CSK. CSK, arguably one of the most successful teams of the IPL. And last year they finished at, they haven't qualified last year, which was first time for them in the history of IPL, right? Every time that CSK, you can say like they'll qualify or they'll reach final, or if you can say so, because they have reached finals like multiple times, like to be precise, they've
seven
reached finals
times.
7 times.
How many?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that itself was an amazing record in the IPL history. And having said that, CSK finishing seventh position was something you can say very much disappointing for the fans. And with the kind of strategy that they had, frankly speaking, it should have happened maybe in 18-19 itself with the kind of aging the team had. But somehow they have managed in 18-19, and something unavoidable or eventual has happened in 2020, I would say. What do you think about it, Raja?
I agree, especially firstly with the kind of stature that CSK has. I think it is one of the most, if not the most beloved IPL franchises, especially how passionate the whole fan base is, and what drama, it had a lot of drama going in the few previous years, and made a comeback in such a high fashion, winning the tournament. So it's one of the greatest teams of franchise cricket, and from that point, them missing out on playoffs was a bit of surprise. But again, if you look about it rationally, as you said, it was bound to happen at some point, because it is a formula that has worked wonderfully, but at some point even the best laid plans also go awry, and this was one of those cases.
So always gold is not gold.
And I think the problem started right before the tournament began itself. Losing out Raina for whatever reason, and for his personal reasons, and even
Harbhajan
Singh. Yeah. A huge dent to the team, because both of them, Raina is definitely a starter in all the games, and Harbhajan played really crucial roles, especially in home games in Chennai, especially on turning tracks. So the problems were there, and they only got amplified last season, we can say.
Yeah, so moving on to where they have failed last year, I think I would say they had plenty of top order problems, like Murli Vijay failing the opportunities that he got, and Raina not being there, and Kedar Jadhav was not able to finish. Yeah, top especially. They
Also,
had
Watson
problems.
wasn't as devastating as usually was.
Yeah, Watson also had a bad season. Yeah, top they had very much issues. And one positive they had last year, if you can say, Jadeja turning out to be a great finisher for T20, and Sam Curran coming out as a
Sam
very
Curran was a
useful
brilliant.
all-rounder.
Absolutely, I agree. Sam
Yeah.
Curran was amazing. He was the go-to man for Dhoni, and what the role that say someone like a Bravo did for years and years together, that was Sam Curran. I felt. You give him the new ball, he was there. You give him the last over to close out games, he was there. You asked him to go open and break open the deadlock because they weren't getting too many great opening partnerships, and the power play scores were one of the lowest, if not the lowest, if I remember correctly. So Sam Curran was everywhere. He's always fielding back at the deep where people are going to hit you, and he was always a live wire on the field. So he was the go-to man, and absolutely fine, brilliant, brilliant for CSK.
Yeah, I think looking at whom they have retained and whom they have released quite a few players. Shane Watson, of course, he is retired, and Murli Vijay, they have released Kedar Jadhav, Harbhajan Singh, Piyush Chawla, and Monu Singh. So yeah, probably knowing Dhoni and knowing how he thinks, he is definitely thinking only for the subsequent season, because after that it is going to be whole new auction, right? Because 2 new teams are going to get added, and he must be definitely thinking only for one season, which is 21 season. And they have traded in Uthappa from Rajasthan Royals. So yeah,
What do you think it is? Do you think it's a good trade for going for Rob Uthappa?
I think, like I mentioned just now, he must be thinking only for one season. Probably they were looking for someone experienced at the top, and I think it's another
Because
Dhoni
I
strategy,
agree.
which you never know what is going to happen till it happened. It's another
Yeah.
Dhoni thing, if you can say so.
I'm sure because Dhoni can make players do things that even the most well-known names that we never really understand. And it's always for the positive, I feel, because but I think they're looking for maybe, as you said, a good replacement, experienced replacement for Murli Vijay at the top, and I think they've gained it.
They basically have now 6 domestic player slots and 1 foreign player slot to fill with, and having a purse of close to 20 crores basically. I think, looking at the new squad now, and Reina being with the team this time, and Uthappa coming into the group, I think they have pretty much okay top order, considering Uthappa, Rituraj Gaikwad, who played beautifully during the fag end of the season last time, and Reina, Raidu, Faf, and Jagdishan. Jagdishan is again top scorer in SMAT, like we discussed in last episode. So they had pretty much 5 or 6 players who can occupy probably top 4 slots, right? So their main problem will come when they need a bridge between top order and you can say lower order. I think Dhoni, with all due respect to him, he is not anymore the finisher that he was, right? We all have to accept it, and I'm sure to a certain level Dhoni knows that. And yeah, so then I feel they have Jadeja, Dhoni, Sam Curran as finishers. I think they need someone to bridge the gap between the top order and this lower order, which was primarily last time that role was supposed to be played by Kedar Jadhav, and he failed big time last time, right? So I think, going into auctions, they must be looking for some explosive all-rounders.
And also, I think I agree. Good. Do you think that that's for domestic players? Do you think they will have any slots for?
They have only one slot. There is only one.
Like
foreign.
in the playing 11, like, do you want someone as a? So, what do you think their strategy would be? Like, would they go for backup players to their established lineup, or do you think they would want someone in this auction?
I think they definitely need some foreign player. I think they need a foreign player for playing 11. So I think it depends on match to match again, and mostly they may go for Maxwell, I think,
So Maxwell would be good, but we all know that Maxwell has been a huge disappointment coming into IPL.
I
Especially, do you think he'd be a good fit
I
for
think I
Chennai?
think CSK wears yellow. Probably he may play well this time. So jokes
But
apart,
I hope so too, because he's someone who's
I think he will be determined to play this time. He
yeah, yeah.
had faced some criticism after failure last season, and I think it's quite some time back that we have seen an explosive Maxwell in IPL. So I'm sure they'll try him this time because it's only for one season, right? It's not like too much longer. If he haven't performed, they can leave him immediately because like we have mentioned, big auction is going to come next year. I
Correct.
think that is one pick that I have for CSK, and they definitely look for spinners after
Yeah,
the.
having correct. I agree with the spinners part also. Releasing Harbhajan, Piyush, both of them pedigreed Indian spinners, and seeing that Imran Tahir, for all his great skills, is also getting older. I think they would want a good spin bowling option.
I think they might go for Krishnappa Gautam also, who is a very handy batsman. I think the Chennai pitch will suit him very much for his style of bowling. Talking of
Maybe
spinners.
even Suchit also. Suchit also has been released by Punjab, so he would also be a good fit. I think.
Yeah, and I think they may go for Sandeep Lamichhani also. Yeah, and
But
they have
yeah,
some very good domestic middle order batsmen also. Like I mentioned, they need a bridge between the top order and the lower order. Maybe they themselves had Shah Rukh Khan playing for Tamil Nadu, who had played a few beautiful innings in SMAT this year. And maybe speaking of domestic players, they may go to Vishnu Solanki. If you remember,
yeah.
he played some beautiful innings for Baroda. Or Shivam Dube may also come handy to them as an all-rounder.
I think they could use Shivam Dube also because like a decent bowler, he'll give you 2 overs, 3 overs, and handy with left-hander, big hitter. I think he could be a good addition as well. And speaking of Shah Rukh Khan, when I saw the final list of the kind of the shortlisted players that you mentioned, I had a great, not a great moment, but I had a very funny thought. I would love to see by the end of the auction. I just have a feeling if I could ever see Shah Rukh Khan playing for KKR, Tendulkar playing for Mumbai, and Azharuddin playing for Hyderabad, and like just for the sake of conversation, it would be wonderful.
I understood the little Raja in you, where you want to visualize your childhood again, right?
Yeah, but names again, but wouldn't it be great?
Of course,
Thought,
it would be great.
yeah.
With that, we'll move on to Orange Army with Raja as our in-house expert on SRH. So, Raja, what do you think of SRH position in auctions this time?
Coming to my favorite team, and I can speak for ours, but I won't. But that is coming to SRH for this year, but just with a little bit of a preview on where they stood last time. So they finished third on the table, but that is on the back of some incredible moments in the latter half of the tournament. The first half of the tournament was pretty bad, where they won like 3 games out of 9, and I thought most fans felt that it would be difficult for them to get to the playoffs, but the season was plagued by multiple injuries. Bhuvneshwar Kumar got injured pretty much early on in the season. Vijay Shankar had many niggles, and he kept moving in and out of the team. Mitchell Marsh, who was the starter in the early first match, got injured in the first match itself. And also when it came to the latter half of the tournament, Saha, who got a second wind as an opener in the top, and he blew away all preconceived notions of what Saha could do at this age, and unfortunate to miss out in the knockouts in the playoffs because of injury again. So all these, I think, if the team was fit, there was potential for this team to go even further than where it stands on the table. And one good thing that I must say about last season's SRH's performance was that and so they finished with 7 wins in the league stages and 1 win in the playoffs against RCP in the eliminator. So in all the 8 matches, there have been 8 different man of the matches, and none of them was David Warner or even the star of the 2019 IPL being Natarajan. So there have been individual brilliances, but a mixture of inexperienced middle order and a lot of injuries at the wrong times have pegged them back a little bit in the last season, I would say. Down to who they've retained and who they've released ahead of the auction. No major players, I would say. Just 5 players have been released. Billy Stanley, Fabian Allen, Sanjay Yadav, Bhavnak Sandeep and Yerra Prithviraj. So
I think the core remained same, right? They haven't released any of their core players. Mostly
no. I think it was very
bench.
I think there was no problem with the. There weren't major problems last year in terms of form or especially in form of the players. So I think it was a very wise decision in looking at it as just as a mini auction to supplement what you have. Having said that, they just have 3 slots to fill, 3 slots including 1 overseas player. So one of the major issues that has always been the case has been the middle order, especially the lower middle order. Last year they have SRH has added talented youngsters like Priyam Garg, Abhishek Sharma was already there, and Abdul Samad, but somehow they couldn't get going at some crucial moments. So maybe this time around they would look to have certain maybe add a bit of experience into the lower middle order. So my pick, I thought they can go for Kedar Jadhav. Kedar Jadhav, wouldn't have been my preference, but earlier. But what he's had a decent Syed Mushtaq Ali tournament, and he adds that kind of experience to hold that middle order together if that need arises. And he has got good match awareness and have experience of playing at the bigger levels and all that. But and also. Quite good. I think he's had a good. He's coming coming into form a bit.
They have an overseas slot. So whom do you think they'll go for?
Again, I don't.
Do you think they'll fill in that overseas slot at all?
I think they can go for a backup fast bowling option. There are decent players this time around. Maybe Coulter Niles and Pattinsons have been released by Mumbai. They can always there, but I don't think that they would need anything more than a backup fast bowler. One area that they could look at is including maybe an off spinning option. Because both.
Do you think they'll go for Shakib?
Right now, I don't think Shakib. I don't think having Shakib in your lineup and not playing him. Is the right idea, because that is what is going to happen. Having the likes of Warner, Bairstow, Williamson, Jason Holder, and also Rashid Khan. These slots are getting filled by themselves after a certain point. Even that is one of the reasons they had to let go of Fabian Allen, because he's also good. But the thing is that having the quality of Shakib and not playing him, I don't think it's the right thing. Maybe it's best that he goes to a franchise where he can have some game time. I only think that they might go, if they have to go for a backup fast bowler, someone to replace someone like a Billy Stanley, and not they needn't have the pedigree of your international greats and all that, but someone who can just do the job if needed.
Yeah, so let's move on to our next franchise. Again, we have our in-house expert Manoj supporting Rajasthan Royals. So what are your thoughts on Royals, Manoj?
Yes, RR happens to be my favorite team. RR the underdogs. I think that's the right title for them. And I think they every time they make a really conscious effort in keeping up that tag, right? I mean, if you look at Rajasthan Royals, so winning the main title and ending up last in the last season, they have come a long way. So Rajasthan is coming to this IPL auction with a cap of 35.85 crores. I think if you look at the last season,
They could buy a
some of
new
the-
team. Complete new team they could buy.
Of course, really, of course. I think the last season, even though they played well, I think it was one of their worst seasons because ending up at the last spot, something that no one will team want, right?
At least not for the way they have started the tournament, right? They have started
Absolutely.
in a beautiful
Yeah,
manner.
yeah.
Of course. True.
I think they have left us with some of the most memorable moments of IPL 2020. Like Rahul Tewatia especially, and also Sanju Samson in those, it's innings in
Don't talk
Sharjah.
about it. It's a CSK match, so I don't want to discuss about it.
I think if you look at some of the players that they've released, right? I'm really surprised that they have let go of Steve Smith, who happened to be the captain.
It was very surprising. In fact, of late, Steve Smith is turning out to be a very good T20 player, and leaving him at this juncture, I don't understand
And
the strategy here.
To add to that, it's just I don't understand. Like, even if you don't want to play someone like a Steve Smith, why would you release someone of that quality so that your opposition, someone that you might play against, have him and he will be a starter? I don't understand it at all. Very, very bizarre, I felt.
Yeah, you could look for a new captain, but why let go Steve Smith, right?
Yeah, I agree.
It's got to be one of the talking points. And moving on, I think now they will be looking for a opening pair, who could open with Ben Stokes. I'm not sure if they will still do that, right? After trading Robin Uthappa. I think in this auction they will be looking at some of the young guns, maybe looking at, let's say, Mohammad Azharuddin from Kerala, maybe Aaron Finch, Alex Carey. They're all up for grabs. That will be one place that they'll be looking for. And also Sachin Baby could be also a good option for them, to stabilize that middle order. What do you guys think?
If they are looking for an opening slot, like you mentioned, they are pretty much good opening domestic players that they can look for. Because looking at what happened in Syed Mustafa Ali Trophy, they had many domestic opening good batsmen. You can say, like there is a Baroda captain Kedar Devdar, who had a beautiful season anchoring the team and playing well. And then there is again Avi Barrett from Saurashtra. He is an opening batsman, and I think he got a century against Goa in SM80 this year. And yeah, I think
I think do they have overseas slots left?
Yes, they have 3 slots left.
Right. I think for me, I think if you want someone at the top, a good option might also be Alex Hales. Alex Hales has had a brilliant BBL and is coming off great form. He's experienced in IPL pretty much, played for a lot of teams, and he's coming off a season in BBL where he scored was the highest run scorer, and also has a strike rate of 160 plus. So that could be something that they would look at, I feel.
If they are looking for a foreigner for this part, I think they can go for David Malan also, who is a old number one T20
absolutely.
batsman right
correct.
now. Yeah, they have.
And guys, do you think
all
they
the
have
money in
enough
the world.
pacers at the moment, or do you see maybe looking for another pacer as well? I agree. There's Jofra Archer at the moment, and now I think Varun Aaron they've released him, so they should be looking for some.
Correct. I think
For a replacement.
these few decent fast bowlers up for grabs. Jai Richardson, he's had a good BBL. He's coming into this IPL. He's coming in with some kind of form. Also, reputed bowlers like Pattinson is also available.
I think Liam Plunkett is also available for this season.
Yeah. Good option. And even say Mark Wood. Mark would also be brilliant. But again, I don't know. And I think we're forgetting that there is Umesh Yadav available in this round.
Right.
That could be someone that they could seriously look at, because your Karthik Tyagi and had a few moments, but someone like Umesh would add a lot of backbone to the bowling.
Agree 100%. Yeah.
So that's all for this week, guys. This week we had seen 2 double centuries in Test match, so we thought why not make 2 episodes this week. So we'll speak of the balanced franchises in the next episode. Yeah, let's move on to our last topic of the episode, which is Hero of the Week.
So for this week's Hero of the Week, we've had multiple nominations in our head. Like Hassan Ali doing well in the 4th innings, in like almost dusty pitches in Pakistan. We've also had a great performance by James Anderson, also Ashwin. But ultimately, we felt that it has to be given to someone, frankly, we hadn't heard of till the last day of the match that he was in. And that was Kyle Myers. And that's for the simple reason being that he scored a double century on debut on the last innings of a test match.
Yeah, that was wonderful. That was wonderful, man. I've seen highlights of the game, and he's a tall left-hander, strong left-hand batsman. The way he was hitting sixes was like for a moment I thought Chris Gale was batting. He was amazing talent, and yeah, definitely. He's I think he's young and he'll go a long way with the West Indies team.
And a great part was that a lot we've seen West Indies slip a little bit in terms of Test cricket, and although they've been brilliant in the shortest format, to having getting someone of this temperament to just bat through the 5th day was amazing.
And chasing 395 in Asia is basically the highest successful chase target in Asia. And
that's amazing.
While chasing 395, if he's scoring more than 200, how come we not give Hero of the Week? So yeah, guys, our Hero of the Week is Kyle Myers. So yeah, guys, thank you for listening to us again and again, and we are very much overwhelmed by the response that we got for our first 2 episodes. That's all for the week, guys. We'll discuss on balanced franchise in the next episode. Thank you. Bye bye.